The Many Things Podcast.
So, what do you think's going on with Qatar?
What do I think is going on? So I think it's been interesting because a lot of journalists are trying to talk about Qatar right now, obviously because it's starting in 2 weeks' time. But the decision was made 4 years ago to go to this country to do it. So why are we suddenly getting so irate and about it now, when all of the immigrants that have built these stadiums have died already, and all it's about to start? It's so late.
I mean, that is the point you made about how they've all died already is a very good point, because if whoever's pushing it, like the news or whatever, if they really cared, they would be talking about it as the migrants were dying. They'd be doing live, 40 died this week and stuff. Yeah, you're right. Just because it's just about to happen, people are only going to be interested in it now. But
that's what I mean.
I've never thought that they'd all died already. So to cancel it now, I mean, it would just be like their lives wasted.
That's what I mean. It's all about money and prestige. That's all it's really about. Qatar is not really a big country. We used to own it back in colonial times. And there's nothing there really. It's just a desert, isn't it? But they've just got loads of gas reserves. So it's a chance for them to put themselves on the world stage as such a small country. And what a way to do it, having a World Cup. Billions of people watch that World Cup. I mean, you're going to be remembered. It's going to be in everyone's winter, Northern Hemisphere's winter, Western world's winter,
More people are stuck outside. So
yeah. So it's interesting. It's interesting to happen. It's something different. It's new, but whether it will be a good World Cup is another thing, really.
Yeah, I saw on Twitter how Gary Lineker, he was tweeting saying any gay players should come out during the Qatar World Cup. It's like, well, hang on, mate. If you're a gay player in the World Cup, that's a risky ass move. You'd suddenly have there's already enough pressure on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the thing about Gary Neville when he went on Have I Got News for You, and Ian Hislop was like, how can you criticize the World Cup as you're commentating? Oh, so the game has just started. It's 1-0 to England. Oh, by the way, the Qatar refugees and immigrants in this country have been treated terribly during this World Cup. Oh, and they scored again. He's not going to speak out because he's getting paid by the Saudis. He's working for
millions of dollars.
Yeah, he's working for a Saudi company. He's commentating for a Saudi or Middle Eastern company, beIN Sports, wherever the company owns them. And he's not going to say something bad about the people that employ him, So, yeah.
It'd be interesting to see whether he does. He said he did. And he has got a lot more political the last few years. You see, he was on stage with Keir Starmer a few months back.
Yeah. He wants to be an MP, doesn't he? He wants to be an MP.
Yeah.
He loves I think he should stick to football. That's what I think.
Well, I think he's done some good shit though. He said during COVID, he part owns a hotel. During COVID, they had this hotel and they opened it up to homeless people and stuff. So he has done some good stuff. I mean, the Qatar money, Beckham's taken it as well.
Yeah, but I think they've just offered Beckham ridiculously, you can't say no to sort of money. Because if they were saying in that article, weren't they? If you get David Beckham, it's a weapon. You can use it as a, this is going to be an amazing World Cup, sort of thing.
It's sports washing, and yeah, I guess they use it. But do you think it's right to be held there for the World Cup to be held there?
I don't think it's wrong. I think the way it happened was wrong. So obviously Sepp Blatter and all those guys that were part of FIFA when it happened. I mean, it went to Russia before this, and now it's gone to Qatar after this. We're talking much about it, but so, and then obviously with Qatar, they have paid their way to the top. Obviously you have to bid for it. You have to bid for a World Cup. You have to pay money, and countries that aren't successful, they lose money. So you have to bid each round. You have I don't know how many rounds you have, but you have to bid each round. So they've just bidded. So that's the way it's done. It's done by money anyway. But the fact that there was no infrastructure there in the first place, that's the big thing for me. Like when we had it in Brazil, that's a great place to have it. Still had problems with infrastructure in Brazil because it was quite a poor country at that time.
Well, you
That
know,
still is.
with Brazil, with the favelas, what they did the pacification thing when they tried to like fight all the gangs. Then they put up these huge advertisers by the roads so people didn't see all the poverty driving in. Yeah, that was again, there was huge corruption with the Brazil World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, but like this is, I think this is on another level because like this is like sophisticated corruption in a way. You know, it's like
How the West
they're
does.
they're super rich and they just get what they want because they hold a lot of cards. You know, they got a lot of gas reserves, and what's happened now? We need a lot of gas. You know, like we were struggling. You know, so they for 200 years, it says in that article that you found, you know, 200. Oh. 200 years of gas reserves, you know, that's a fortune. Yeah.
Yeah. I think like 200 years time, or even like 50 years time, the demand for gas will be far, far lower. But yeah, for now and for the last, when did they discover it? Like it's 70 years ago, something like 80 years ago when they first discovered these resources. You do just have an absolute gold mine. Like, so one of those countries for sure. But I think that the thing with the Qatars is, do you see the weapons, the bit about the weapons, how like it's business, you know. They buy weapons from certain countries, and then you know other countries help them. Like a lot of weapons from Western countries, like the UK for sure as well.
Yeah, well, it's good. It's good business. You know, selling weapons to another country, you make a lot of money. So, yeah, it's a weird thing.
Yeah, I think the problem I have with the way all these, like whether it's the news or whoever it is talking about the Qatar World Cup, oh, it shouldn't be going on there. We shouldn't give them that. It's like, yeah, but that's coming from within a country that does business with them, and like we sell them loads of like weapons and other things. But so if our government, and that's all government decisions, it's military related, if they're doing it, then like why it seems somewhat conflicting, nothing like
yeah, it is, but like that's just politics and business in general, you know. The one thing that I saw what was interesting was my gym instructor actually. He showed me a picture of the fans village. I don't know if you've seen this, but it's terrible. It's shipping containers, and I'm just speculating here, but what I see them as was that's where the immigrants, the migrants that did the works probably stayed, and then they've just recycled it for fans to go there. It looks terrible. I don't know if you find some pictures online or something, but it
yeah,
looks...
I'll add photos to it afterwards. I will bring it up. Like I would use this laptop here now, but I changed the Wi-Fi thing and I haven't got the password for the Wi-Fi. But do you remember? Did you watch that Netflix documentary with the like the fake festival, and there was a big scam and they wasted all that money? All the people went there and the guy literally taking their money and giving them rubbish stuff. Do you think it could be like that? So, I don't think.
Well, they're thinking it's going to go to every game at the World Cup. I think they were saying it's going to be 19 or 20,000 pounds to go to every single like game that you possibly could go to for your team if your team gets through the knockout stages and stuff like that.
2-week holiday.
Yeah, that's a monthly, it's a yearly wage for someone, you know, 20 grand, you know. So that must include flights and that must include the accommodation prices. So that you have to pay that just to go watch a World Cup. Like, so they've bidded a lot of money and they've made it impossible for proper fans to go and watch, you know. So
yeah. Do you remember the was it the Euros a few years back when there was the crazy football fighting and those Russian fans were just dominating English fans? They were just coming in and like,
I think that
Russians far tougher than the average Brit.
I think Qatar is going to be quite different in that sense. I think it's going to be quite passive. I think there's not going to be many fights. I don't think there's gay rights things. I don't think there's going to be many protests about that because does the average football fan really care about that? Although that they should, it should be,
but
should be able to be whoever you want to be. But I don't think protesting at the World Cup will do anything really. So
I think they might. I mean, it can't. It will not. You're not going to see the same level as these. What's it called? Is it Oil Now? The activist group that are doing it in the UK at the minute.
yeah.
Have
Yeah,
you seen
it's going to
them?
be awkward. It's going to be awkward, isn't it? Because it's going to be like it'll be like they'll find out what nationality they are, and then they'll probably try and embarrass the country. But then the country will probably fight back if it's like a proper Western country like Germany or England. So it could, I guess, it could turn nasty, but not in the sense of physical.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Just some words, some stern words from powerful people on either side.
yeah. And then this is wrong. You shouldn't persecute gay people, and then they're just like, yeah, I know, but this is how we believe in this culture. And it's just like, okay, there's not much we can do about it, really, is there? I mean, you can protest if you want to, which is fine. I mean, you should, but they're not going to change their ways, I don't think.
Different countries are at different stages, like culturally, economically, all sorts. Like if you look back in the UK, in the United Kingdom, 200 years ago, you had the same views that this place had. That was just the mainstream, the normal, the accepted, So I think
not even that long, but like 1960s, 70s, people were not comfortable with gay people, homosexuals. 80s when it really it's okay to be gay. Really.
Is that their slogan, or did you just think of that?
No, but that's 40 years ago, isn't it? So, and they definitely haven't had the cultural revolution that we've had in our countries, because we're democracies, we're quite old countries, quite well developed. We travel a lot, so
Travel a lot.
yeah.
Did you travel a lot this summer?
I actually went down the south coast. I did. I went to Isle of Wight. Actually, it was quite nice.
White Cliffs of Dover as well. Did you see them?
Yeah, White Cliffs of Dover. They're all right. They're pretty good. They're all right.
Isn't the Isle of Man, doesn't it have no speed limit still
I think so. Yeah.
on roads?
Yeah.
Which I always think. Actually, do you want to talk about the Isle of Man? We can.
That might.
You're right. No, you don't want to talk about that. All right. But
No,
yeah,
I don't mind.
like that. How was it? Was it your first time there?
I went to Isle of Wight, not Isle of Man.
Yeah. How was it? Sorry, I didn't hear you. Was it good?
Yeah, it was nice. I like Isle of Wight. It's actually probably one of the nicest places in the UK, I'd say.
What did you learn?
It's quite warm. Huh?
What did you learn?
What did I learn?
Yeah.
Oh, you got bad internet.
What did you learn?
All right. What did I learn? What do you mean? What I learned? I was just traveling, camping.
So I'm always, I don't know. I suppose I'll just find out a little bit about the place as well.
You live very close to it. Just go there.
Not that close.
You're down in Cornwall and you're near Taunton. That's so close to Isle of Wight.
No, sorry, but Taunton and Cornwall, that's like 250 miles. That's not that close.
Oh, you're in, what's it called? What's the one next to Cornwall? I can't remember.
I'm in Herefordshire.
Herefordshire.
It's about 8 counties away from Cornwall. Yeah, Monmouth. It's Wales. It's not Cornwall or Devon.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, but what do you think? Can we talk about the oil protests today all over the UK? And it's been going on for a couple of months. What do you think about that? You got an opinion on that?
Yeah, I do. I understand it, like we're ruining our world, aren't we, really? And we're not really doing enough about it. Some people are creating new technologies, and doing something. They are helping, and technology will probably save us eventually. But the average person, the average poor person that can't afford an electric car and all these things, like they're hurting those people as well. So that's the difficult part, because those working class people need to earn a living and survive like everyone else does. And stopping those people going to work isn't going to save the world. You're actually probably making the world a worse place in a way. So there's that argument, but then also there's the argument that they are saving the world. They're stopping bad toxic fumes and whatever going into the environment. So but the thing about that is that oil has already been taken from the ground, so it's going to get burnt anyway. But I don't know, I'm in two minds. I semi support them and I semi don't. Like if you're that guy in that taxi in that queue, sorry, on the M25, if you're that guy
supporting them at all, you'd be fuming. You're late for
you'd be
work.
human, right? Like I've got to get a meeting. I've got a meeting to get to at 9:00. No, I can't get there because there's these people being stupid, basically. So
yeah,
I think there's better ways for them to protest, maybe. But it's definitely effective. They get on the news and they're heard and they're seen. So yeah.
I agree with you. I completely agree with you. I think that their cause, no one can really deny the cause. Like everyone knows it's a serious issue. And the next 50, 100 years, climate change is going to smack us in the face so hard if we don't do anything about it. But yeah, like you said, it's the means, it's the methods of doing it. So if you start a new job, you're like a month into a new job, a huge recession's just around the corner for this country. And then you're an hour and a half, 2 hours late because these people chain themselves to the motorway or whatever. That takes them. I don't think when they're throwing the paint on the art, although they say, like, I watched the interview with one of them that did the Van Gogh painting. She threw the soup on him. She said, like, they researched it. They knew there was glass in front of it already. And she knew that. But I still think of like a lot of people, voters, middle-aged people, whatever. I don't think they're going to like seeing this group attacking like some of the world's best art. I don't think attacking art is the right move. And also in London, when they're spraying the orange paint, they did like supercar salesman rooms and stuff. They also did the MI5 building. Like if I was an activist and I was going to vandalize some buildings, I don't think the MI5 building would be the top of my list.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, but the I mean, we're in a bit of a mess, aren't we, politically? And we always have been. Like ever since I went off to China, Brexit was a mess, and now we seem to be in more of a mess, really, financially and politically. So I feel like our politicians are letting the country down. Really, we haven't really improved. When you look at other European countries like Finland, Scandinavian countries, I mean, they're not doing miles better than us, but they're doing a lot better.
In a lot of the indexes, how you measure a country, like happiness, quality of living and stuff, those Nordic countries have always scored very highly.
Because I mean, they have small populations, which helps massively, but their social welfare programs and stuff like that are so well planned out and organized and executed, whereas ours are. In this country, we're in two massive mines. We've got a massive middle class in this country, and that's all from Thatcherism, because that's sort of when it sort of developed. Like my families, your families, a lot of families are middle class really in this country, and there's like the super rich, lots of middle class, and then quite a few poor. So a lot of middle class people then started to vote for the Conservatives because they started to earn a lot more money than they were used to. So now we have like a massive disparity, really. We have like the middle class and upper class, and then all these lower classes that, would vote completely differently.
Yeah, I read somewhere, do you know that they think that 25% of all kids in the UK now are living below the poverty line?
So well, that's because of COVID as well. I think COVID's had a massive impact, especially on poor countries around the world.
Well, like poor countries around the world, it was crazy. Did you see how much the World Bank estimated of poor people getting pushed into extreme poverty?
No, I didn't see that. No.
Yeah, let me just find this. 50. Yeah, here we go. We're pushing estimated between 119 and 124 million people into extreme poverty. Because the problem was when the lockdowns came, was the way these like developed countries are a lot more economically stable, yet we still got huge debt and stuff now. So when the lockdowns came for these more developing countries, their central banks and the stability in their economy, they just can't afford to stop everything and all payments and everything go like we did for a few months. So that's why so many people got pushed back into poverty in these developing countries.
Yeah, because they were probably on the emergence on the way out of poverty. And then boom, jobs are gone. You can't travel anywhere. The food is scarce. Like that affected us, didn't it, in England here? But we all could work remotely, or we all have internet, and we all have houses. And yes, mortgage rates are high, but we could survive pretty okay, really.
Yeah.
I know I didn't live here during it, but what's what I got from what people said. But in those countries where you don't have secure housing, cars that you own, jobs that are what's it called? Can't remember. Safe jobs, people that have safe jobs. A lot of these jobs people have are probably tourism or something that's not very safe. So it's hit them hard, isn't it?
Yeah, especially the tourism industry. One of my friends, his parents had a tourist business in Algeria, but he said, yeah, when that like the business actually gone bankrupt since then because they lost so much. But he was also explaining to me how in these developing countries, their hospitals and their hospital resources are terrible compared to us. So if they did have a big outbreak, like they're fucked. Like they can't cope the same way we could.
That comes to us again in this country. Like we love to complain, and we complain so much, and sometimes we complain too much. I think, we a lot of us. I'm not saying all of us, but we have it good compared to a lot of countries around the world.
No,
and
for sure.
I've been to some poor countries, and you're just like, wow, like this kid or this man literally has a cardboard box and that's it, and that's their life, and they just go around just trying to earn a living, and then we sit here in our homes and it's 15 degrees outside, 10 degrees outside, and we're like, oh, a bit worried about the heating this winter, and yes, prices have gone up and it is expensive, but you got to, I know people, it's difficult to think of the bigger picture, it is difficult.
Can I ask a personal question? Do you pay for the heating where you live right now? I mean,
yeah,
I don't pay for mine where I live right now, but do you?
Oh, here?
Yeah.
No.
I didn't think you did.
You can edit that. You can edit that bit out. You can edit that out.
The problem is that you do have a very good point in terms of like, I know people whose their home countries, there's wars going on right now, like airstrikes, hunger, like wars, like crazy. But I think the heating's a legit option. But for sure, we complain too much. Like I think we complain far too much. So sometimes life gets pretty tough. But some people, I don't know. You just got to try to be tough because life is tough sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, prices are always going to go up, weren't they, for fuel? Really, like they will continue to go up until it runs out. Like that's just the way business works. It's going to get smaller and smaller.
Finite resource,
yeah, less and less of it. So the price is going to go up. That's just the way it is. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but yeah.
So you are starting a English teaching channel, aren't you?
Like any English teachers I've seen, maybe I'm just not at an advanced enough level because I'm trying to learn French in a minute. I haven't heard of teachers that just teach one language to everybody. I honestly, I might just be ignorant towards it, but they do exist. There is a thing out there, right?
English teaching is a huge industry around the world. Like in China, it's $1 billion,
That's English, but they're giving it to Chinese, like they know Chinese as well. No, you don't have to know a lot of Chinese to do it. That's what I'm getting at.
No.
Really?
No. Yeah.
So when you're explaining things, you just speak to them in English.
Yeah, the whole time I teach on my computer here, I teach. I don't speak in Chinese at all.
Uh, oh,
They
so
love it. Because then they can, it's like watching Friends or something in English, you know, they can pick up so many new words from me just talking,
that's so,
and
so
they're just,
so when you do it, it's like that's culturally pointed in towards of your recommendations and your teachings. That's a very advanced level, like cultural norms, something that you're never going to learn from a textbook. But you know the mannerisms and the way that everybody just speaks. Like if you say sick in the United Kingdom, basically every young person knows what that means. Yeah, I don't
yeah.
think that's going to be in many language textbooks. So you give them pointers from that kind of cultural angle.
Yeah, you can do videos like that as well. You can do slang. I did one on slang videos, slang words,
What would you,
and you can then translate what the slang word means into normal English. That's
what?
quite good.
Yeah. So what did you teach them? Did you teach them wasteman,
No, I can't remember what I did now.
dickhead?
Can't remember. No, obviously not terrible, rude words, because otherwise they won't watch it.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you get passed in school. So what's your page? What's your channel called?
Nomadic English 1.
Okay, cool. We'll put it in the description. All right. Cheers, mate. Cheers for doing it. I'll see you later.
All right, see you later, mate.
I'm using that one.